In question number 2, we're going to again deal with this situation that has to do with compounding. Anytime you see the word compounded in a question, assume it just means divided. That's the easiest way of thinking of the word compounded, is to think of it as the word divided. Compounded just means that your percentage interest rate is going to be divided up into smaller payments. So in this question, the 28% interest rate is going to be divided into quarterly payments. The key word after the word compounded is the one that tells you how many payments you're going to get per year. So if I'm going to divide this 28% quarterly, I need to remember that there are 4 quarters in a year, so I'm going to divide this into 4 payments. Generally speaking, the word quarterly always means 4 payments. So compounded quarterly means divided in 4 payments. And that is really the first thing that I need to pay attention to. In terms of the order of operations here, to use a common phrase, the first thing that we'll want to do, and I'll just make this little note on the side here for steps that you can follow for these problems. The first step that you'll want to do is to always take your percentage and figure out the percentage per payment, which is to basically say, figure out how many payments you're going to get and figure out what dividing it into smaller pieces is going to do to your percentage. So for this first step, I would say I have 28%, so that's my percentage, and it's going to get divided into 4 payments, because that's what quarterly means, 4 payments. So 28% divided by 4 is 7%. That means I'm getting 7% per payment. Now, that's what we need to convert into what we call the multiplier. So step 2 is to basically convert this percentage to a multiplier. That's what we did in number 1, letter C, in the previous question. So to convert something to a multiplier, this is what I was doing in number 1, letter C. That means I'll take my 100%, which is always what we start with. We always start with 100%, plus, because interest always adds to my account, 7% in each payment. 100% plus 7% is 107%. And then I convert that to a decimal by moving my decimal 2 places to the left. So 1, 2, that gives me 1.07 as my multiplier. So that number is the multiplier that's going to be in my equation. Now I'm looking at my multiple choice options, because this is a multiple choice question, and I'm looking for something that has a geometric structure and has the right numbers in the right places. Now the only one that seems to have the right multiplier of 1.07 is this one. So instinctively I'm looking at choice C, feeling like that's a good choice to pick, but let's just make sure all the other parts are correct. The first number we should see is the initial value. This equation claims it's 2,000, so let's check, invest $2,000. Okay, so yeah, the initial value does make sense. The initial value is supposed to be 2,000, and it looks like it's correct. Now, the 1.07 we know for sure is correct because we just found that multiplier, so I'll color code that. But let's check out this 20, because I'm looking at the question and I didn't see the number 20 anywhere in the question, so I'm wondering why in choice C they have that number there. Maybe there's a typo or something that I need to look somewhere else to figure out. If we think about this power, that's supposed to be how many payments we have. And I have to think about this in the context of the question. If I'm getting 20 payments, how's that possible? Looking at the question, 5 years, 4 payments quarterly, 4 payments per year. So I'm getting 4 payments a year for 5 years. And 4 payments a year times 5 years worth of payments really is 20 payments. So that 20 actually does make sense. That's basically combining the 5 years and the fact that it's quarterly into one single number. 4 payments per year times 5 years is 20 payments total. So it does seem as though choice C is the best equation. Sometimes they'll ask you to use the equation, but for now they're just asking us to pick the right one. So hopefully that was straightforward enough. In the next question, we'll talk about building an equation and then doing something with it. So make sure building the equation makes sense before you move on to the next video.